Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us on Sealaska Heritage Institute's Facebook Live page. My name is Rochelle Smallwood, and today I have the pleasure of introducing to you Weaver Extraordinaire Lily Hope. Lily is Raven from the deintaan Snail House in Hoonah, Alaska. Today she'll be talking about her weaving mentors and inspirations. And if you have any questions for her, feel free to type them in the comments below, and I'll make sure Lily gets those questions answered. Thank you.
Hey, Facebook world. Thanks for having me, Rochelle and Sealaska Heritage Institute. It is a beautiful gray day in Juneau. You're here in the studio with me. And if you were following yesterday on Instagram, we are doing word of the day. So I hope you got that word from Instagram. And if not, go to Instagram and go get that word before it disappears. Because we are putting together a sentence this week, or you're going to, with the word that I say each day. So listen for the end of this Facebook Live for that word today. And you're going to take those words and rearrange them and make a sentence on Friday at the end of our lives. And then Saturday, we're going to do a drawing for who might win a pair of Lily Hope original earrings. So we wanted to make it aware also that Sealaska has an exclusive collection of my earrings on their Shopify. So if you go to Sealaska Heritage store, you can find the Snow and Fire exclusive Lily Hope collection. It's the only place you'll get those earrings. And we wanted to also make you aware that Sealaska has YouTube and it's called Vimeo and sealaskaheritage.org if you want more information about what we're up to and to keep track of where we are as virtual demonstrating artists. And I'm just one of the virtual demonstrating artists. We're hoping to do this every a new artist every few weeks. And so if you're an artist, you know, look out for those emails coming out to get to apply to be where I am and to share your work with the world. Okay, housekeeping out of the way. Oh wait, last thing, hashtag, we want to see what you're creating this week. While I'm a virtual demonstrating artist, we want to see what work you are creating. So if you will, either on Facebook or Instagram, use the hashtag Weaving Hope Together. We'd love to feature you in a little like, I don't know how that goes, where you like lay out all the pictures. What's that called? A collage of everybody who's doing work together, whatever art you're working on. If you'll hashtag Weaving Hope Together, that would be really fun. We'd love to see what you're doing. And oh, hey, I'm going to sneak this in here right now. The word of today, write this down. The word of today, save it for later, is form line. That's one word, form line. Write that down. Okay, so, okay, really for reals, housekeeping out of the way. I'm Lily Hope, Wushkin Deintaan Chilkat Duasak. My Tlingit name is Wushkin Deintaan. And you're here to hear about my mentors, I guess. That's where we are. And my mentors are mostly women, it seems. And my mother led me to Chilkat weaving, and you can see one of my little tiny weavings behind me. I started this like 6 years ago and it's still right here. I've been working on all sorts of other things instead of this one, but I'm a Chilkat weaver and a Ravenstail weaver. And I got into it in my teen years. And I would say I was dragged into it or forced, like pushed it. What do you want to say? Aggressively encouraged. Can I say that? My mom really, like, I don't know if she really did this, but my mind, my teenage mind remembers that she was like, you cannot go play with your friends until you weave your 6 rows. Weave those 6 rows and then you can go outside and play. And I was like a usual 15-year-old teenager. I was kind of boy crazy, like all my friends were boys. Shh, they were, you know, that doesn't mean anything silly was going on. I just preferred the company of men when I was a teenager. But hey, that doesn't mean there was any funny business, okay? Anyway, so I wanted to hang out with my friends and I was forced to weave. I felt like I was forced to weave, but I made a pair of Ravenstail leggings in the traditional way with the lattice pattern and then the lightning that zigzags. And one of them was completely tapered like this, and one of them, the second one, was completely straight up and down. So they did not ever turn into leggings. I think one turned into a bag, and when my mom passed away in December of 2016, 17, 16, we went through all of her stuff, and she had kept my first square weaving, that Ravenstail weaving from 1995. So that's kind of fun. And now it's in my possession. Where is it? I don't know, but I have it somewhere. So then it was a good few years before I came back to weaving. I moved back to Alaska in my early 20s and started taking classes at the university. And Kay Parker was one of my teachers. And I developed a pattern during that class where I took the Ravenstail lightning pattern, and instead of having the little zigzags go like the same direction, I flipped it across the center line and turned it into the shaman eyes pattern. So the little zigs actually go zig and then zag together again. So it makes like a little triangular thing. Anyway, that happened. And I dropped into the weaving in my early 20s with more of a meditation. So that was really nice to come back to and realize that my hands had the memory, and then my mind was in a different space of being able to like sit in that meditation. So my mother, Clarissa Rizal, was Clarissa Hudson, was Clarissa Lampy. She was probably my biggest influence as far as getting me into it. And in that whole time between weaving those leggings and coming back to Alaska, my mom would invite me to do all the things with her, like stir the dye pot or split the cedar bark or spin the warp for the robe that she was going to weave next. And it turns out we figured out Evelyn Vanderhoop, one of the premier Chilkat and Ravenstail weavers right now. I ended up spinning the first 1,000 yards for her first Chilkat blanket in the 90s. So it's kind of awesome, right? That like, here we are still weaving. And I still connect with her on, Messenger and all that. So it's amazing to have those mentors and support those artists, even, decades prior. So yeah, my mom, Clarissa Rizal, was my first and most influential teacher. And then Kay Parker has been such a big-hearted support in sharing the Ravenstail Northwest Coast geometric weaving with us. And if you get a chance to take a class with Kay, you should totally do it. She's really, really good. She knows her stuff upside down and backwards. She could probably teach you to weave with her eyes closed. But my mother's mentor was Jennie Thlunaut. And people would say that that my mom was the last living apprentice of Jennie Thlunaut. And that's not wholly true, because the whole truth is that before my mom passed in 2016, she was the last living apprentice of Jennie Thlunaut, the master Chilkat weaver, who had finished a project from start to finish. Like, where I'm at right here, Jennie sat with my mom for over 6 weeks, actually in the last 2 months of her life. She died a year after the mentorship was over. But my mom sat there for 6 weeks and started it, like she spun all the warp and then finished the project all the way to the bottom. And that was the distinction between my mother learning from Jennie and any other weavers at that time. So she was the one. The story, you can look her up on Clarissa Rizal's blog.com, but she talks about how near the end of it, Jennie would like elbow her and say, "You're it. You're it, you're it." And my mom was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And then a month later, Jennie passed. And my mom was like, oh, she was tagging me, like not hashtagging, but like tag, you're it, you've got the knowledge, you better do something with that. So my mom taught hundreds of people, Shken George, Crystal Nelson, who else? I think Willie White was one of her students, Ann Smith, so many weavers who are still working today. Ricky Tagaban, who shares a studio with me sometimes. Yeah, she had such an impact. So her reach is not just me. There's so many of us, and we still stay connected that way. And that's a huge part of the work, is continuing weaving ourselves, but continuing to connect and share how we're doing things and saying like, is this how you do an interlock? Do you drop both of the pieces in or not? So I'm realizing as I'm doing this that it's a huge part of it is really continuing to connect with her students and building a larger community of weavers who are in it for the integrity of the work and for the heart of the work, right? So my mom, Clarissa Rizal, and Jennie Thlunaut, and Kay Parker, and Evelyn Vanderhoop, and you know, here's a secret. There's a woman in Ketchikan. She's a really good weaver, and she's married to this awesome, prolific Northwest Coast artist. His name is Nathan Jackson, but her name is Dorica, and she's really good, like museum replica quality good Chilkat weaver. That's kind of a secret. Just kidding. It's not a secret. She just finished a robe, and the Totem Heritage Center down in Ketchikan now has it on display, so you can go check it out. But someday in my life, I want to go study with her. That's Dorica Jackson. Hi, Dorica, if you're watching. Love your work so much. So yeah, let's see, Clarissa, Jennie, does anyone have any questions? Rochelle, do you have any questions that anyone has brought in? Sorry,
No questions have been brought in yet, but I do have another question for you. You mentioned you'd like to work with Dorica. Is there anyone else that you dream of collaborating with?
Oh, my repeat dream, someone asked me earlier if I dream about weaving. My repeat dream is just to weave all the things with people. I love weaving together, whether that's like side by side on a robe together, like I'm sitting one side, someone else sitting on the other. And one of my favorite people to weave with is Ricky Tagaban. I'm like, I miss you so much that we can't weave together, that we're always like, tag, I'm in the studio, tag, no, you are. So yes, I love doing the collaboratives. There's actually a really amazing one that we're working on called the Giving Strength robe for the Aware Shelter. And there's over 60 volunteer weavers who have contributed a little like 5 by 5 inch square. So that robe is going to be constructed similar to the Weavers Across the Waters community robe, which weavers contributed all the way down to Portland and into British Columbia and Yukon Territory. So it's really, it's really amazing how generous the weaving community is, that we all just want to keep working and producing work and sharing our ideas and all that. So if I could mentor or study under other artists, I want to go spend some time with Evelyn Vanderhoop, and I want to go spend some time with Dorica Jackson. And I'd love to hang out with Kay Parker if I was just able to like sit by her and watch whatever she's doing, because she's in my zip code. So that would be the easiest option. And I really want to do Ravenstail. I've been working on Chilkat so much that my brain is so much in the like organized chaos of things. Sometimes it's just really nice to take a little like breather and create some geometric patterns that's very predictable and makes progress all the way across the loom, all the way across, instead of like teeny section and then another teeny section in Chilkat weaving. Because if you're just tuning in, hey, it's Lily Hope. But I was going to say the difference between Ravenstail and Chilkat is not just that Ravenstail weaving is geometric in nature, and Chilkat designs use adapted formline. It's that the construction itself, you can see here that this is making progress like a little further here than over on the edges. So I can focus on one small area and make this weave along. In Ravenstail weaving, I have to make progress all the way across the entire thing. And so in a way it's faster to weave Ravenstail. In fact, if a full-size Chilkat blanket takes anywhere from 1,200 to 2,500 hours, that's 1 to 2 years to finish, a Ravenstail robe for the same weaver. If I could weave a robe at 2,000 hours in Chilkat weaving, then my Ravenstail robe would take about half that time. So, you know, someday I'm going to weave 2 robes in the same year, probably when my 5 kids are a little older. So thanks for asking, Rochelle. Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, we have a few more questions. Thank you for your answers. Lindsay Brolini is asking, what makes a good mentor and how do you seek out a mentor?
Ooh, that is a really good question. What makes a good mentor? Um, that's not what we ask usually. We usually look for, well, from the opposite side, we look for what makes a good student, right? Um, and of all the people who were at the Raven House in 1985 doing the class with Jennie Thlunaut, Jennie, so I'm going to answer this part of the question. My mom asked her during that workshop a year prior to her apprenticeship with Jennie, she asked her, like, will you teach me? Will you teach me how to weave? Will you teach me? Can I be your apprentice? And Jennie didn't ever answer her while they were in Haines. And then a year later, Agnes Bellinger called my mom and said, hey, my mom's getting on the ferry from Klukwan. Can you be ready to apprentice tomorrow? And my mom was like, what? And then, you know, in a few weeks into it, my mom said, like, why did your mom choose me out of all the people that she could have taught to, you know, weave a project start to finish? And Agnes said, what, you don't know why? It's because you were listening. You were the only one who was really listening. So, and I don't know if that's, you know, if she's the only one, but she was listening. So that's what I look for in a student. So to flip that around and answer your question of what makes a good mentor, generosity of heart. I think that's the openness, kindness. What do I want to say? Oh, I just described all three of those women, Dorica and Evelyn and Kay, and my mother. Who not gonna get emotional? I swore I wasn't gonna. Can't talk about people and who've gone into the spirit realm and not kind of go, whew, they're not far. I mean, my mom, I don't know if you can see on my studio wall here, she's up here on this, in this picture, but I like to say she's a whisper away. When I need her help, I can, you know, put my hands into the warp and say, all right, I'm stuck. I know what I'm doing and I know you're not far. Please just help me get this done. So I'll like throw up my hands and clear my mind. And then when I put my hands back into the work, it's as if she's working through me. That's the best way I can say it. So that accessibility, regardless of where we are in miles or spirit or physical realm. So yeah, kindness, generosity, patience. I think that's a thing. That patience and kindness have to go together. And I would say not dedication. What is that word where you kind of like direct? I don't know if direct is the word. What's the word when you are you don't take no for an answer, but it's like you're very not clear, but like yeah, directed in how you're going to teach, in that this is the way that it's done and you do it this way, right? So that kind of thing of like, you could do it this way, but we don't see it a lot that way. This is the way that it has been done and this is why we do it. And sometimes we teachers don't actually get to say why, because our teachers may not have told us. But yeah, kindness, generosity of spirit, patience, and of course, technical skill. You want to look for somebody who's like, if you love their work, go study with them. That's, yeah. Ask if you can study. Anything else? More questions?
Yes, along those same notes, Rosita Whirl is asking if you have any apprentices and how does one apply to become your apprentice?
Ooh. I have a couple unofficial apprentices. I've got some energetic trades happening with a few weavers, and I'm careful with who I accept as an apprentice, because it's not just the ones who will listen, it's the ones who will work solo outside of their hours with me. If they're here's the heart again, if their heart is in the work for the joy of the weaving itself, that is like probably number one. If their heart is in the work and they want to do it, like if they kind of go OCD / kind of a little bit like off and like, well, I didn't sleep for 3 days, but I finished my headband. That's where I'm like, oh, this one really gets it. You know, I can name a few. I know one that lives in Yakutat. You might be listening, who really goes for it. Yeah, so the drive to work outside of the hours that we spend together. Again, the kindness, the largeness of heart. And here's one, the absence of ego. And I don't know how to say that differently than they're doing it for the love of the work, for the love of continuing a tradition, being part of their lineage, their culture, to share with their families. Yes, maybe some part of it is monetary, because it's a thing. If there's only 10 of us that are weaving Chilkat blankets, that is an actual option to have this sustain your life. But in an apprentice, I want someone who's, eager, that's it. Eager, willing, listens well, has self-drive. What's that called? Discipline, that they're disciplined to do the work. Thanks for asking. How does, the other part of that question though was, how does one become my apprentice? You send me an email at lilyhopeweaver@gmail.com, or find me at lilyhope.com and send me a message via my website. And I do have like a little form / like questionnaire that I'll send to you for kind of applying to be an apprentice, which asks you all those questions. Why do you want to do this? What have you woven? How do you feel when you're weaving? All those kind of things. So thanks for asking, Rosita.
Hi, we have another question from Christy Ford Dillingham, and she is wondering, how do you plan the Chilkat design? Do you collaborate with other artists? Do you set it out in advance? Do you adjust it as you weave?
Yes, and yes, and yes, and yes. Planning out a Chilkat design. So there are really good, how come they're not right next to me? They're really good resources. You can pull off images off the web, the World Wide Web. If you Google images of Chilkat blanket, you can find all sorts of options. I like to study the masterful ones, like the diving whale or old robes that have been woven many times over. And I'm in the process of, like, I don't know if you can see behind me, but I'm in the process of playing with design as far as collage goes, and how do these shapes fit together, and what does this particular shape mean? I kind of want to show you. I'm going to just like sketch one out maybe, but utilizing the old patterns. Hold on, I'm going to grab a little marker. Utilizing the old patterns to help direct how you're going to create your design. And then, yes, while you're weaving it, you do modify it as you go. Like the weaving is going to tell you, oh, well, you can't actually weave that shape right there. Here, let me see. This is a pattern board behind me. I'm going to turn this just a little bit. So this is a pattern that my mom wove in 2010, and I got to help her with it a little bit. Let me see, move that guy out of the way. Ugh, falling over. So this is a little pattern board that she did, and she had it printed on canvas after she drew it out. But I don't know if you can tell from where you are, it is very finely drawn. Like those lines are very weavable. They are straight enough that the weaver can follow them. And I can send this down south and have a huge transparency made of it, and then hold that up to my weaving. In fact, let me see if I have, I don't think, that's so funny. We'll have to do that when we do it. On Thursday, remind me, Rochelle, on Thursday, I want to have transparencies available so that we can talk about that, because we're going to do a lesson on design and tricks of the trade and stuff like that on Thursday here on Facebook Live Zoom. So we can talk more about design then. But yes, to answer Christy's question, yes, I modify designs as I'm weaving. Yes, I collaborate with other artists. And that's the whole thing, is that you got to have people you can send your ideas to, your patterns to, and say, does this look right? So my top people are my father, Bill Hudson, my sister, Ursula Hudson, and my Aunt Deanna Lampy. Those are my three that if I'm going to create something and I'm not sure about it, I'll send it to all three of them and let them give me feedback. But my number one that I ask things about, Ishmael Hope. He really is like the first guy who's like, oh, nah, I wouldn't, or maybe more black right there. So yeah. And actually that's kind of in reverse order. So it'd be Ishmael, Deanna, my sister, my dad. My father was instrumental in working with my mom, Clarissa. They did beautiful work together for most of their lives. My mom's best work was fine-tuned by my dad, Bill Hudson. It's true. So if you're going to keep being an artist or being a weaver, make sure you have a couple people in your corner or like sitting on your shoulder that can give you those like, not so much, or more of that, a little bit more yellow, to give you that feedback, because we're never creating alone. We're always co-creating. That's what my mom would say. We never create alone. Any more questions?
Yeah, well, there is a comment from Stephanie Anderson, and she says, 1 square inch. I love your poem. It says it all. And from there, I was wondering if you would mind telling us other art forms you do and how they connect to weaving.
Oh, phew. Thanks, Stephanie, for remembering my poem. That has been published a couple times. It's also searchable on YouTube if you want to watch me do a dramatic performance of it. 1 square inch. I think it's part of KTOO's red carpet series, so you can go hear that. It's just a few stanzas, but really details out how much work goes into a Chilkat blanket, really before we start weaving and while we're in the thick of it. And the question was, oh, what else do I do? So I'm also a Tlingit storyteller. That is, I think that actually happened right at the same time that I started weaving in my early 20s here in Juneau, and then started like really getting into theater. In fall of 2003, I was part of the Tlingit Macbeth that Perseverance Theater did. And I was actually raised in the theater as a child. My parents were doing shows at Perseverance Theater when I was, 5 and 6 years old. And Aunt Deanna was Frosty the Snowman. So she's been awesome for my whole life. Okay, just so you know. She was Frosty the Snowman at Perseverance Theater during one of my parents' shows. But so I've been in theater probably since before my mom was even a weaver. So theater has been maybe my first love, and performing arts has been the thing that really gets me excited about things, and maybe helps me be a public speaker, lecturer, teacher a lot. It takes a lot of the like butterflies and fear out of things, because once you've done it for, a couple hundred people, what's Facebook Live? It's no problem. Just kidding. So if you're thinking of being an artist and sharing your work, maybe take a theater class or a dramatic speaking or public speaking class. I highly recommend it. It's it'll really change the way that you're able to share about your work. So that's one thing I do other than weaving. I also teach. I'm like one class and one semester of student teaching away from a master's in teaching. And I don't know if I'll ever finish that degree, but I'm teaching. I teach a lot. I probably teach 6 or 8 times. Well, pre virus, I was probably teaching 8 times a year or more. And yeah, that's really, if I'm not able to share this way or in person as lectures and presentations, teaching is probably on the top of my loved things to do, other than getting outside with my kids. I have 5 children. Did you know that? 5. So kudos again to Ishmael Hope for watching our 5 kids so this can happen. Shh, don't bother me. So yeah, theater, what was it? Weaving. Oh, I'm also a collagist. It's really fun. Well, anybody can take it, but I particularly love taking old Chilkat designs and rearranging them and fitting them back together and like doing all the crazy cut-ups, because then I can make a piece of work in less than a couple of hours when I'm spending upwards of 2,000 hours weaving the larger pieces. So that's a really fun thing. I'm also a jewelry maker. I make little earrings like this. You can get my woven stuff on Sealaska Heritage Institute's Shopify page. So they've got an exclusive collection of Lily Hope original earrings, and that's the Snow and Fire collection. What else? I'm jewelry. Oh, I also do Indigenous fashion design. I love that so much. And my aunt Deanna and I collaborate on those a lot. Our little side hustle is Kitty Wake Designs. We do a lot of fashion design, and we did one that was like a shiny blue dress with like the wave pattern done in mother of pearl buttons, and then a huge like cedar bark belt slash obi inspired piece. It was pretty epic. So that was 2016, I think. Am I counting my years correctly, or was it 2018? Was it 2018? I can't remember, but it's on SHI's site somewhere, the fashion show. So yeah, fashion design, theater, jewelry making, Chilkat blankets. Hey, here's one. I have never woven a full-size Ravenstail robe. I did an entire ensemble for a child size. So I did like the leggings and headdress and tunic and robe, but I've never done the whole 7-foot Ravenstail robe. So that's on my to-do list. Any other questions, guys?
You mentioned how you were teaching about 8 times a year before the virus, and I'm just wondering now how people can be mentors remotely and what you're doing to still be able to teach now with the new online platform.
Well, fun that you've asked. I haven't put any classes live yet, but working with Sealaska Heritage Institute and other foundations in the last month, figuring out how to use Zoom and Google Hangouts, that is on the horizon. So if you want to know about classes that I'll be offering, you're going to want to go to lilyhope.com and enter your little email so that you get first notification of when I'm going live with some classes. One of the first classes I want to do is helping people restart their projects wherever you're stuck. So in the next month or so, I'd like to help do that. So that's one class. And then the next one is really want to do Ravenstail pattern development. Actually, I should just put it on the books. I'll just put it on the books so we can do it. We're going to design Ravenstail patterns from nature, which means that the first part of the class will actually be how to read a Ravenstail pattern. It's all geometric graphed out in Excel, or what's the other one on the iOS? Not Pages, but Sheets. So it's either in Excel or in Sheets, and you could graph it all out by like highlighting the different boxes and merging. That's a huge part of the whole process. But you can also use standard graph paper. So we'll go through those together in the class. So that's 2 classes that I get to teach in the next month. I'm pretty excited. So keep your eyes peeled for those. At lilyhope.com, I will announce them on my calendar and send you an invite if you're on my email list. Thanks for asking, Rochelle. Anyone else?
Okay, I think this is our last question for today. It's from Dawn Houston, and she's wondering, on your mom's design, can you describe the different parts of it? I'm guessing she's referring to the board behind you.
Sure. Thanks for asking about this. This design, she called this Jennie Weaves an Apprentice. And if you look at the old robes, it is really a version of one of the raven robes, where if you look closely, you can see that there's a smaller robe within a robe here. I'm going to touch it right here. This piece right here, this little border that's going around, this is an inner robe. So the larger design goes all the way around the outside. There's a central face here at the top center. And if you look really closely, let's see if I can do this. Don't disconnect me. This here, you can see that there's like a crown up at the top here. That is symbolic of not royalty, but of knowledge. And same with this, the labret in the face down here, that is a woman of high status and high knowledge. She's also very careful with her words, women who have the labret. So this particular design is Jennie here in the top, weaving an apprentice. So the smaller is representative of her teachings. And you can see that her little hands are actually depicted here on the side. So she's holding the space and teachings for this student to learn the craft. Yeah. Thanks so much for asking about that. And that is a robe that my mom wove in 2010 and I helped her with. And then I guess it was 5 or 6 years later, I wove a version of that for the Portland Art Museum and renamed it Lineage, and that now lives in the permanent collection at the Portland Art Museum. So thanks to my mama for getting me into this. Didn't know what she was doing. I just kept saying, yeah, I want to do whatever you're doing. Sure, I want to hang out with you. And here's the thing. It's not just that she was teaching me in the traditional way, that she would like ask me if I wanted to participate, and I kept saying, yeah, sure, yeah, sure. We were just listening to recordings of Jennie Thlunaut talking about her mother and grandmother teaching her to weave. And Jennie said today, this is really awesome because my husband, Ishmael, can listen to Tlingit and basically translate it into English like right then, like he doesn't have to look it up in the dictionary. So we were listening to Jennie speak Tlingit, and he was saying, oh, in 1908, her mother passed and left her with, and the way that the Tlingit language works, she said, my mother left me with all the knowledge, right? But then also left me with all of her weaving supplies, right? And the way that she said it is that she left the knowledge in my hand. Like she put it in my hand when she passed into the spirit realm. And I was just like, how amazing is that Tlingit language to be able to say, this knowledge is left in my hands, literally and figuratively. I mean, like she is the weaver that her mother left her to be, with that knowledge in her hands. And realizing that when my mom passed, that's what she did. She left the knowledge in my hands, but like memory in my hands, right? That memory. But she also left me not a house or a new car or any other things, but yarns. My mother left me patterns and yarns and books of journals and comments and teaching record and all the things. So in the way that Jennie's mother led her to the work and left all of that in her hands, she put it in her hands. Here I am, same. Wow. Thanks for being witness to this. Thanks for letting me share with you. And I don't know if you have other questions. I think we're kind of at the end of our session today, learning about myself, Lily Hope, and my mentors. And if you want to learn to weave, Kay Parker, best Ravenstail weaver you can learn from, Evelyn Vanderhoop, Dorica Jackson, myself, if you are in Juneau, I'm happy to share with you. Or if you're not in Juneau, look for those classes at lilyhope.com. Sign up to get my newsletter and I'll tell you about them. And go to SHI's Sealaska Heritage Institute's Shopify page, check out my exclusive Snow and Fire earring collection, support the arts, support your artists, wear some woven bling, help to bring woven arts into fine arts. Let's elevate the work. And if you are creating anytime this week, we'd love to feature you using the hashtag Weaving Hope Together, because that's a play on words, right? Weaving and hope together. So hashtag Weaving Hope Together. Check out Sealaska Heritage's Institute's Facebook videos and on YouTube or on Vimeo. And for more updates about like celebration and how that's gonna go forward, you can go to sealaskaheritage.org. And what is your word of the day? Thanks for listening. Your word of today, which you're gonna save this one and yesterday's word. Today's word is, you listening? Form line. That's one word. Form line. Should I write it down? You know how to spell it, right? FORMLINE. So form line is your word of the day. You're going to want to use that on Friday to submit that. We'll give you details about that. And tomorrow, we won't be here on Facebook. Tomorrow, we're going to be on Instagram Live at SH Institute. So tune in. And actually, Rochelle, I have no idea what we're talking about tomorrow. Do you want to tell us? Are you still there?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for all of your knowledge, Lily. Your stories moved me to tears. It was just beautiful to hear all about it. Let me pull up our spreadsheet really quick and I will let the viewers know what we'll be viewing tomorrow. And while I do that, Lily, would you be able to tell them our next live session on Facebook?
Sure. We are coming back on live Facebook Zoom on Thursday here with Sealaska Heritage Institute. We'll see you back in the studio with me and Rochelle here Facebook Live, and we're going to talk about tricks of the trade in weaving, hopefully 2 different ways to do braids, what we're learning about why we do these braids a certain way. I want to show you how to interlock things. That'd be really fun. That's pretty key and distinctive to Chilkat weaving. Let's see. So we'll talk about tricks of the trade on Thursday here on Facebook Live. And of course, you'll have another word of the day on Thursday. So I hope you're writing these down somewhere safe. And what else do I want to know? I think that's it. So let's see, Facebook Live. Oh, so the pattern is Tuesday, Thursday. We're here virtual demonstrating artist on Facebook Live on Sealaska Heritage Institute. And then Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week, which is only Wednesday and Friday, we're on Instagram Live at SH Institute. So that's what's up with that. And here's Rochelle again.
Great. So tomorrow you can catch Lily Hope on Instagram Live on SH Institute's page at noon, and she'll be talking about her artist practice and workflow and her working philosophy.
Ooh, I'm glad I know that I'm talking about that tomorrow. So yes, tune in tomorrow, Instagram Live. That is at noon, Alaska time. So, and I get to share with you what my day looks like and what kind of things do I do to support the creative process. And yeah, I don't get up at 4 a.m. to work. I'll just let you know that right now. Sneak peek for tomorrow. I don't do it. Okay. Thanks so much again for tuning in. We're going to sign off and say, see you tomorrow on Instagram Live. Take care of yourselves. Get outside, get some fresh air. Wow, it's snowing? It's snowing, you guys. What is it? It's April. Okay. Take care, everybody. Bye. Thanks for having me.